All right, everyone. It is time for the live show. Hope everybody's doing well. You're looking at this background and saying, I don't think that Ed is in Florida, and you would be correct. I am. Some of you, of course, have seen this background before, though. At my dad's place in Renfrew, Pennsylvania, and I have been here since Monday afternoon, and I will be here until next Wednesday. So a week from today, I will be back in Florida. Hope all of you are doing well. I did fly up here. I did not drive. I was going to drive, but then I decided, you know what, we only really need one car here anyway. I'm really not planning to go many places by myself. So I flew up, plane landed at 1:20, and my dad picked me up, and I am here. I am doing this show from the guest bedroom, the spare bedroom, however you want to put it. I guess you could call it my bedroom in my dad's place. That door goes to the rest of my dad's place. Right over here to the left is the bed where I sleep. There is a TV right here that you can't see. You can see like just a little bit of an edge of a picture right here, a big picture on that wall. And you can also see that I'm not using the microphone. I did not bring a microphone stand with me. I did try to get one at Walmart today. Did not have one. So I'm just using the microphone off of the laptop, my MacBook laptop that I use to record all the episodes. In fact, I did bring the microphone. Here it is. But like I said, I couldn't get a stand today, so I said the heck with it. And anyway, this is old school. This is how the audio used to be way back in the day when the live show started. I know I get this question every time I'm here. What is that? What is this on this door back in? Those are pins. There was a time going back to the 1990s into the 2000s when my parents, when they would travel places, they would collect pins from all places, vacation places, tourist traps, schools, monuments, you name it. And so those are a bunch of pins that they collected going back over 20 years ago. That's right, Sheree, way back when it was on Facebook. So, and behind those doors, that's a closet, but there aren't any clothes in there. There's a bunch of photo albums that my mother took pictures going way back, maybe even to the 60s. Bunch of photo albums in that closet that my dad still has of vacations, family get-togethers, family reunions, birthdays, you name it. My mother back in the day loved to take pictures. And so back behind those in that closet are a bunch of photo albums. And if you saw how many, it would be crazy. So this is where I am doing this show on August 4th, 2021. And if you're wondering why my face has a little bit of a red hue, it's because this lamp on the other side of the computer has a red shade to it. If I get closer, you can see how much redder I get. So I'm trying to stay back here just a little bit. So let's see who is in here. Linda got in here first. Then there's Karen, Charlotte. Fishing says, been working too late to catch a live show the past few weeks. Thank you, Fishing, for tuning in. And Jasmine, Cherie, thank you for moderating tonight. LaFord, Valerie, got a question from Valerie this evening. Indy, White Noise, K-Dog, and LaFord, I answered your question about, like I said, a very common question. It seems every live show I've ever done from this room, always, so it's a very observant question. Thank you, LaFord. And Cherie is reminding me, yeah, back when the live show started, it was on Facebook, and I just did the audio this way. Thank you for reminding me. How long has it been, Cherie, since we've been doing this on YouTube? Maybe 2019 now? I think it's been probably 2019 that we moved it over YouTube. Maybe you have a better recollection of that than I do. Hello, Laura and Kathy. And Puma says, I collect magnets from my travels. Okay. Soul, good to see you. LaFord says, I collect shirts from the Harley Davidsons from the states I visit. That's cool, LaFord. I love that. Not much of a motorcycle guy, but that's cool. Helen says, hello, Ed. I finally caught a live show. Well, if you caught it, reel it on in, Helen. Reel it on in. Cherie says, I think so. 2019 seems longer, but I bet you're right. It does seem to me, Cherie, that we went to YouTube right around the time the think tank started in 2019. They were think that they were very close together there. So what have I been doing since I got here? Still doing work. The episode for this Friday is completed. As you would guess, I will be talking about that at the end of the show, like I usually do. Got in a little disc golf yesterday. Through a little bit. The weather here is fantastic. It's in the 70s. It's beautiful. No rain yet. Been hanging out with Dad a little bit. We when I went shopping this morning, after that we went and got breakfast. I had an omelet, which was excellent. And then I was over to see my dad's neighbor. Her name is Dottie, and she needed help setting up her new printer. That's wireless. So I went over there and helped her out. So, and Dad had some things that he needed me to do on his computer and everything. So kind of I've been playing fix-it guy since I've been here. But it's good. And like I said, I'll be here till next Wednesday. Now, this trip was kind of a combo of things. I told my dad that I would come up to see him during this summer, so I'm fulfilling that obligation. And then on Friday, so August 6th, my best friend of all time, some of you know him as the guy that we went to the Iron Maiden concert together over 2 years ago. It seems like yesterday. And then in September of 2019, my dad and I, and he, Doug, and his son, we all went to Canada fishing together, although we didn't catch much. But he is turning 50 on Saturday. And so they are having a birthday celebration for him, conveniently not far from here. So, and I got invited to go to this party, of course. And so on Friday evening, I'll be going over there, and I'll see him for the first time in almost 2 years, and probably a bunch of other people I haven't seen in a long time. So it's a kind of a combo of things. And I may see my sister Diane, my brother Michael before it's all over. We'll just have to see how everything works out. So Sharon, hello, Sharon. And so that's what's going on. That's why I'm here. And like I said, I'll be flying back to Florida next Wednesday. And everything will go back to normal. And then when I get back there, and then the next week, I'll be playing in a PDGA Worlds tournament over there. And but I'm still getting work done here. The blog will get done for this Sunday. Or this weekend. And we will have the think tank on Sunday evening. Everything will continue as normal. So I was able to bring most of my things with me. And Sharon, thank you for the contribution. You're very generous. Thank you. I deeply appreciate it. LaFord, are you saying 77? Are you saying you have 77 shirts? Is that what you're saying? Oh, didn't mean to post that. Okay, LaFord. So I got a question. I was going to include this in my discussion anyway, but I got a question. Who was it that asked me this? It was Valerie. She asked me what I did for my birthday. if you're in here, Valerie, really it wasn't much different than usual, I have to tell you. I went and played disc golf with the club on Sunday morning. Played pretty averagely, as I have been doing recently. And being that I had been, at that point, I was coming off a 39-hour fast. I didn't eat anything from around 10 o'clock on Friday evening until about 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. And so that's how I ended on my birthday. At the end of that, I weighed 173.6 pounds. So I've lost 17 pounds since March. And even my dad, who, of course, has seen me now, he hadn't seen me since January, he said I could really tell that I've lost a lot of weight. In fact, as some of you have stated in this live show, you can tell how I've lost some weight in my face. And that is certainly true. And I am liking it. So I ended up pigging out on Sunday on my birthday. I still had work to do, did the think tank, had to finish up the Patreon blog. But I had a bunch of chicken wings. No, I did not cook them. But I had some cupcakes. I had some popcorn. I had some soda. It was the first real cheat day I've had in a very, 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 very long time. And to be honest, not to go too deep into this, but my body did not react too kindly to it. I think that there are times that I think I am lactose intolerant. Like I can drink milk and I can have chocolate, and then there'll be some times when it just does not agree with me at all. My brother Brian is not lactose intolerant, but my sister is. And I know a lot of times that's genetic. My other brother, Michael, I don't know if he's lactose intolerant or not. I have no idea. But I'm open to that. And since then, I've been fine. But anybody who knows what that is about, and if you are lactose intolerant and you do drink milk or eat chocolate or something like that, you know what goes on. And so that's kind of what happened on Sunday night into Monday. And that's all I really want to talk about that. So really the birthday, nothing unique at all. Nothing special. I didn't get any birthday cards or any presents or anything. I mean, I'm 51. What do you know? So that's really about it. Nothing really complex at all. But I got to the airport on Monday, hung out there, and so there you go. But it was just a regular day, nothing unique at all. By the way, as I'm talking here, and we're almost 15 minutes into the program, please remember to give this video a thumbs up as you are watching, whether you're watching live right now on August 4th, or if you are watching the replay, that give this video a thumbs up. That helps us with the YouTube algorithms. Please consider subscribing to this channel, and please hit the little bell button so when we post videos, and I will be doing a video for this Friday's episode, so I would appreciate it if you could subscribe, and then you'll know when we upload videos such as that one, or when this show ends up going live every Wednesday night. Hello, Joyce Rivatuzo. How are you? Good to see you. Mimi, good to see you. Paula, what's up? Becky says, welcome to the 50s. Well, I'm 51. I've been 50 in the 50s for over a year now. And actually, I have to admit, Becky, that it doesn't feel much different to me than being 35. I got to admit. I hope that doesn't sound like bragging or anything. But in fact, in many ways, I think that I'm better off in my 50s than I was at 35. I think that I look better. I maybe more confidence and things like that than I had at 35. Definitely a better position in my life. I definitely have what I'm doing with my life is certainly better than when I was doing back then. So it's all positive in my 50s. So thank you for that, Becky. Valerie says, Ed, you have never worked heavy, but of course it's good to be healthy. I would say that I was heavy, Valerie. There's no reason for me. I'm not talking about everybody else. People can do what they want. But for me, I don't see myself as being 190 pounds. I see myself as being in the 170s. And for a long time there, I was at like 182, 183, somewhere in there. And then it kind of got out of control. And just back in March, I said, that's it. That is it. And so I got disciplined. And so here we are in August. And although that was a low point, 173.6 pounds, I'm probably about 175 and a half now today. And I'm glad that my dad is not trying to stuff any food down my throat. I told him before I came up here that there were going to be certain stipulations and things I can and cannot eat. Brendan and Michelle, thank you. You're very generous. Thank you for the super chat. People are wondering what is going on there. You see with Sharon in green and then Brandon and Michelle in green. That is the super chat. That is that little gray square at the bottom with the $sign in the middle. If you would like to contribute to Unfound in this channel as you're watching, you can hit that and contribute money through PayPal or some other money service. And LaFord says, same, I'm 52 and in great shape. I feel good and more confident for sure. Good for you, LaFord. Oh, and sober. Yes, you've talked about that, LaFord. Spectacular work. Fishing says, amen. Yes. And so I talked about being here in Pennsylvania. Disc golf, I got some practice in. I was over at Slippery Rock University. They have an 18-hole basket course there, although I only played about six baskets there. But I really just went over there. There was a lot of sports fields there, so I was just throwing back and forth. Dad was watching me. I was over there maybe a few hours. And like I said, birthday just a regular day. And then Doug has a party on Friday, but technically his birthday is on Saturday. So even before it gets here, I want to wish him a happy birthday this coming Saturday. He's going to be hitting the big 5-0, so he can join the club. Yeah. So there you go. So let's move on. I do have a lineup of items, as I usually do. I do not come and do this live show off the top of my head. So as always, you always see me looking off to my left. That is where the notes are on my Dell laptop, and I actually use my MacBook for all of the live shows and the think tanks. This is that computer right here. So let's get this show started by talking about the Amanda Ward-Romine poll. And the question was, do you, the audience, believe that Amanda was she deceased in the crawl space? That is one aspect of the interview that I did with her sister, Aaliyah. And in the discussion group, it was overwhelmingly that yes, at some point, Amanda Ward-Romine's body, deceased, was in the crawl space. And once again, I think this was the case last week as well. The think tank went in the exact opposite direction, and for the most part said, nope, we do not believe that she was in that crawl space. For me, I have to agree with the think tank. It just doesn't seem to me, everything that I understand about all of that, the way Aaliyah explained it to the best of her knowledge, I just don't know if it made sense to me or most of the people in the think tank that that Amanda was put there. It's hard to understand why she would have put there so close to where people were living, and then the smell and everything else. It seems like a lot of work. Not to mention, as one of the people in the think tank stated, being that there was, the crawl space and there was like a trapdoor or something on the floor, it very well could be that that at some point, if Amanda lived there or they were cleaning things up, hair falls out. And I surely know all about hair coming out. Even though I have a nice head of hair, we still lose hair. And these strands are fairly easy to see, that it's an easy place to sweep everything. So instead of having to use a dustpan, you have this hole in the floor that you can cover up with a rug or something. You just sweep everything down into there. And somebody in the think tank brought that up, and I thought that is as good an explanation as any. We have to remember that was the form of the DNA. It was found. There was nothing in that crawl space that showed any signs of violence or blood or anything like that. So the discussion group went one direction. The think tank went the exact opposite direction. More common. It's much more common for them to agree or to disagree than agree. So maybe I shouldn't be surprised. But it also, in writing the Patreon blog that I do every week, once again, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast, if you'd like to support the program from $2 the whole way up to $20 per month. Once again, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. I forgot how much, really didn't even realize this until I was writing the blog, how similar Amanda's disappearance is to Stephanie Hartwell's, in that both women got picked up. Of course, Stephanie from her apartment, Amanda from her sister's place, and then both disappeared. Very similar, at least that aspect of them. But they are very different in one aspect as well. I think that back when we covered Stephanie's disappearance last year, is that pretty much everybody was in agreement that she got lured. Remember, she was having a problem with the guy, and then this woman named Peaches, and her car came, and Stephanie told the neighbor, "I'm just going down to the corner. I'll be right back." Of course, she was never seen again. So it's believed that she was lured away from her place, whereas I don't think that was the situation with Amanda. Amanda wanted to leave. She wanted to go back to Springfield, Ohio, and something happened along the way. She was not necessarily lured from her sister's place. It's quite clear that she wanted to leave. So that's the big difference. But on the other hand, at least in the general facts, the circumstances where they were and how they disappeared, those things were similar. So maybe you want to go back and check that out. You can go back and listen to the Stephanie Hartwell disappearance episode. Of course, it's on Podomatic. It's all the places that Unfound can be found, including right here on the YouTube channel. Sheree says, "I just learned to live with an extra 20 pounds. I love cheeseburgers and fries." Okay, Sheree. Yeah, the cheeseburger is not so much the problem for me. It's the bread and those potatoes that would be the issue for me and the diet that I've been on, Sheree. But, speaking, going back to my weight, I'm getting to that point where I want to be. I don't know if I want to go down into the 160. So I think I can start to open up my horizons when it comes to food again, but I just still have to watch the portions and do some of the things that I've been doing. K-Dog says, "Happy belated birthday." Thank you. Thank you, Kay. Hey, Delane. Delane's here. She made it. LaFord says, "Yes, I don't think that Amanda was lured either." Right. Thank you, LaFord. Yeah. Different in some respects, similar in others to Stephanie's. Sharon, / yes, / gotta always put the /, not the backward slash, not a hyphen. Patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. So there you go. So that is the poll for Amanda Ward-Romine. I wrote about in the blog that these types of disappearances get harder to solve when suspects die. And in this case, of course, Danny has been dead for a few years, since 2015. And it very well could be. I'm not necessarily saying that Amanda was murdered, but it does kind of make sense, being that Danny overdosed, but maybe Amanda overdosed as well, and they covered it up. So that's kind of the way I am leaning at this point. Thank you for posting that, Cherie. So let's move on to this. The newsletter that went out. It was a good one. I always love it when I can write about some new topics. And if you are on the email list, you should have gotten the email, the newsletter on Sunday evening. Yes, I got it done on my birthday. The work continues. And it was about 4,000 words long. And I hope you got to read it. If you're not on the list, email me at unfoundpodcast@gmail.com to get on the email list. And you should know that the audio version will be out this weekend. What we're doing now is that I publish the newsletter in an email form, and then a week later it will come out in an audio form on the website. And I haven't recorded that yet. So this weekend I will record it, and then I'll send the file to Natasha, and she will put it up on the website. So people who are on the list get it a week early. Everybody else has to wait a week. That's something new. Let's move on to this. Let's see. Linda says Larry was a friend of Danny's. That is certainly true, Linda. Yeah, I never figured out who Larry was. Well, he's a friend of Danny's. We just don't know. We did not talk about his last name, Delane. It's me. Hi, Ed. It's me, Sue, just peeking in for a few. Which Sue are you? It's me. I'm not sure. We have a lot of Sues that listen to the program. And actually, I have 3 different ex-girlfriends with kind of the name of Sue. I dated a Sue, a Susie, and a Suzanne. That's true. And my biological mother's name was Suzanne. So there must be something up with that form of that name. So Sue, as in Sue and Angela. Oh, gotcha. Now I understand. There's Charlotte. Hello, Charlotte. Thank you. It's me. And Charlotte is in here as well. Let's move on to this. Noah Davis. You know that his remains, they were found in 2019. They were not identified until July of 2021. I have no idea why it took this long. In fact, I wrote about Noah Davis's case in the newsletter. And I hope you got to read that. And I did I had a back and forth with Jason Stevens about a few hours ago. Just some things that have gone on, things he's wondering about. I know that Josh has been posting some things on where is the Noah Davis page, and you know how I feel about Josh. But I also posted a link to John Lorden. I got the feeling that he was going to do his Noah Davis update this weekend, but then I know he posted something about having computer problems. So he finally posted his own Noah Davis update either maybe yesterday or today. And I did link to it. I told him I would do so. And he did that. It's about an 11-minute video. If you've not seen the link, you can, of course, go to the discussion group. I think I also posted it on the Unfound page. Did I do that? Or if not, I know many of you watch his videos anyway. And if you didn't know that he did a video on a Noah Davis update, now you know, and you should go check it out, but not until after listening to or watching the rest of this live show, of course. But of course, he did a good job as well. And I know that I saw that Josh had posted that very, very little of Noah's remains were found. In fact, to hear Josh say it, I don't know if he can be believed or not. But he said like 1.5%. So all he found were a couple bones of Noah's that could be identified as Noah's. And then I got, once again, I don't know how much I want to say, but I will just say in general that being that is the amount that of Noah, at least to this point, that has been found, that doesn't surprise me at all. And I told Jason that as well. We have to remember this is a disappearance that occurred in 2014. The remains, it sounds to me, they were found by luck in 2019. And so that's 5 years of remains being out somewhere where people would not normally notice them, which means it was in the underbrush. They were somewhere that people don't usually go. And what this means really, as where people don't go is where animals do go. And I just told Jason that that's just not unusual for a disappearance of 5 years to only find that much. Now, it very well may be somewhere down the road, remains are found over here, they're found over there, certainly possible. And we would hope that that would happen. But for a disappearance that's at the point in 2019 is 5 years old, to only find that amount, not unusual. Of course, everybody knows Thomas Brown's disappearance. He was only missing, his remains were only missing for a little over 2 years, and they only found 30% of him. So this is common. And to my knowledge, at least can't remember the number off the top of my head. I don't even remember what percentage of remains Krystal Morrison were left when they found her. And we have to remember that was 8 years between her going missing in 2011, her remains being found in later of 2019. So I don't even know what the percentage is on that. Maybe I should ask Michelle. Her sister. I don't even know if Michelle knows. I don't remember talking about that. Maybe we did. I just don't remember. But I think everybody understands. I know many of you maybe follow the Where is Noah Davis page, and you've seen some of the things that Josh has posted there. But I'm here to tell you that there's nothing that I've heard so far that is unusual to me. I know. In fact, what I told Jason is that just because 1 or 2 bones were found in that place near Ringgold, Georgia, does not mean that is necessarily where Noah ended up. However, I would be inclined to believe that some of his remains are also still in that general area. Now, how are they going to be found? I don't know. But never think that because you found some remains right at this point is actually where his entire body ended up. That's a faulty logic there. And in fact, I would even say that for Thomas Brown's disappearance, just because he was found where he was doesn't mean that's where Thomas, whatever you believe, his entire remains were there, and then they as animals or whatever came along, and it could be somewhere else, and an animal dragged that 30% to that location. It's at least possible. Just have to remember that something that is maybe a little overlooked when remains are found. Now, granted, you do get to a point, I guess once you get over the 50% mark of remains found, that you have to start thinking, yeah, this is probably where the entire body was, and then pieces got taken away. But if you're talking about 30%, 20%, 10% down to 1.5%, then it's at least reasonable to believe that there is an area somewhere else where more of the remains are, and an animal dragged part of that to that location. I know this is morbid talk, but this is what we do here. So I wanted to remind Jason of that. Maybe that's not something that would be obvious to a layperson. So let's see. Hey, Vegas. Hi, how are you? It's been a minute. It has been a minute, Vegas. It has been a minute. Where you been? Josh, Josh Wright is Noah Davis's half-brother, and he has been the prominent spokesman in this disappearance since almost day one, since he got out of jail after Noah disappeared. And he has done interviews elsewhere. I did not have him on Unfound because I just don't find him to be very compelling. I think he makes stuff up. He's not a very good interview. Every discussion ultimately comes back to him talking about himself. I'm not saying I think he had anything to do with Noah's disappearance. In fact, I reject that. I've rejected that for a long time, the way I understand the disappearance. But that is who Josh is. We talked about Josh during Noah Davis's episode earlier this year, but not a lot. I didn't want to make him a big topic of conversation. We couldn't not talk about him because he's been so prominent over the past 7 years. But there's a reason that I had Noah's other half brother Jason on the program and not Josh. There are reasons. Cherie says 206 bodies bones in the human body. Look at Cherie pulling out the science for tonight's live show. Thank you, Cherie. Yeah. Did the 1.5% come from Jason or Josh? Well, that's the amount of bones, remains that were found, Delane, that's what I mean by 1.5%. 1.5% of Noah's total body was found. So what would be 1.5% of 206 of 3 bones? 3 bones of his, I guess. Yeah. Vegas, can they still identify the body? Well, using DNA, yes, Vegas, sure. And that's what they did. Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And that's what they did. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't have any doubts. There's just nothing that I see in here to not to think otherwise. I believe this is Noah Davis's remains, and I am fairly convinced, as I've been for a while, that there was not a murder here. Now, he might have overdosed and maybe somebody took him out there or something, but being that the remains were found so close, I do not think if he would have overdosed, they would have, and they wanted to get rid of him, that they would put him within just a couple miles of where he was last seen. I just don't think that would have happened. I think that this is... I think this disappearance, remember, I know we did not cover it on the on Unfound because I think it got solved even before Unfound started. But many of you will remember the disappearance of Brian Barton, who disappeared in Washington. It was actually an episode of the TV show Disappeared, where it was believed, he was rooming with friends and he disappeared and he had some issues and addictions, and that screen door or whatever had been pushed out and his friends were acting strangely and everything, and he was missing for quite a while. And then his remains were found in some bushes right near this church, and the church finally decided to do some landscaping. They went out there and started cutting stuff away, and there he was. To me, Noah Davis's disappearance sounds a lot like that. And once again, a guy who probably was on drugs, was in the process of overdosing. Who knows what was going through his mind? Takes off and collapses where he was found. And it's somewhere in the area. And then the animals come along, and it doesn't take a long time. And this is what happens. Accountability. The half-brother is sketchy. So, accountability, you mean Josh, right? A lot of people think that he is, and I have no doubt in other parts of his life he is sketchy. But I just, I know a lot of people are suspicious of him. I'm not. I just don't think he's a very good person. And he was the wrong person, as I wrote about in the newsletter. He was the wrong person to be heading up, being the speaker for Noah's family. Just the wrong person. And I did write a whole 1,000 words or whatever it was in the newsletter about that very topic. Something that I don't think I've ever talked about before or written about before. So I had the opportunity to do that. I'm going to say it for the record. I am not suspicious of Josh. The reason he was not Unfound is not for a reason that I suspect him of anything. He's just not a very good interview. And I don't know whether he's telling the truth or not. So there's that. Delane says, I just take anything that comes from Josh with a grain of salt. I mean, I know a lot of you watch John Lordan's show, as you should. You saw Josh in full Josh mode during that interview that John did with him. I think John's a fine interviewer. I don't know if he's good as me. There, I said it, but he's a fine interviewer. And he had his hands full with Josh. And frankly, with Marissa at the Vanish, she does interviews too. She did too. I just tried to learn from them, and I said, no, he's not going to be on this program. Kathy says Brian Barton was missing for 13, 14 years. Was it that long? It was certainly longer than Noah Davis being missing. It was certainly longer, I think, than Krystal Morrison being missing, Kathy, for sure. Yes. But a lot of people were suspicious of his friends, and none of that ever panned out. But he was found by accident, like it seems Noah Davis was. But these disappearances, they sound very similar to me. All right, so that's all I really have to say about any updates. And I will be doing actually a couple in memoriams are going to be coming up in the next few weeks, I believe. So I believe that Noah Davis is. I'm confident enough that I think that one can be done for Noah Davis, and I still have yet to do one with Robbie Hurt as well. And we've just had done interviews, and you know me. Once I interview somebody, I want to get them onto the program as soon as possible. I never want guests to feel like I've interviewed them in June and it's not going to play till September. It's like, what's that? I don't like the stockpiling of interviews. I've talked about this before. So, but we've had interviews and everything, and I always want to make sure these people get on the program as soon as possible. But I think there'll probably be a couple in memoriams. You know, I do those. That's not new. I've done so for like Zoe Campos, for example. I've done depending on, once again, the circumstances. So you can look for a couple of those that will be coming up. Yeah, Brian was missing 12 years. Okay, that sounds about right. Crank asks me, are you familiar with the Kevin Wynn case out of Fort Wayne, Indiana? I am not, Crank. Does not ring a bell, Crank, but if you want to email me at unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. Look who's everybody. Look, there he is.
You got to start eating those bananas.
I can't eat bananas. They have carbs.
Oh, brother.
See, these are the cocks we have. See, I'll have one.
After I saw what you ate for breakfast, that's all big.
Omelet is fine. Meat, vegetables, and eggs. I can eat all that stuff. See, these are the conversations I have with my dad while I'm here. See, you just saw it live. That was not planned. So there's Big Ed. I'm Little Ed. And there's Big Ed made an appearance. So getting back to Crank, if you want to message me, unfoundpodcast@gmail.com. You know, I don't know, Crank, if you wanted to say what year this disappearance took place. It just does not ring a bell off the top of my head, Crank, but I appreciate you bringing it up. You're now laughing. Linda says, are you following a keto diet? Not really. No. Just the kind of just me reading around, Linda. Since March, it's just been, sugar, no good for you. It tastes great, and I love sugar just as much as the next person, but for the most part, it's not any good for you. It's good here and there, but not all the time. And then with carbs, the main reason that people put on weight is carbs. Carbs are full of calories. There's a reason, for example, that athletes, especially football players, eat pasta before games, but you have to work it off. You just can't eat it. You got to work it off as well. And if you're not working it off, then those pile on the pounds as well. So I've been avoiding carbs, which means, for example, like bread and pasta and things like that. Well, you must realize fruit, a lot of fruits have carbs. Bananas, as my dad just mentioned, bananas are one of them. I may eat a couple bananas because he did get them, and I don't want them to spoil. But I would not say that I'm following a necessarily keto diet. I've not gone to a keto website or anything like that. New host says, love it. It's me says, I do fasting. I fasted for 39 hours this past weekend. It's me. And it really wasn't even that tough. Crazy. All right. So let's go to another question. D asked me, and I don't know if D's in here or not, but D asked me how my dad is doing. There he is. That's how he's doing. He's 84 years old. He has some issues. I'm going to be, he has a doctor's appointment next Tuesday that I'm going to drive into because I'll still be here down in Pittsburgh. He's 84. He's better than most. And in fact, if you're 84, most people do not make it to 84. Of course, my mother did not. And if you are a guy getting to 84, it's even rarer. So that he's alive in 84, I think that's pretty good. I think that was how I would say he's doing. You could see him walking around, no problem. He loves to get in the. As I was doing work here today, he got in his Jeep and went over to Moraine State Park. Yeah. And hung out there for a couple hours while I was doing work. He gets around. He does his things. Now, you should know, on the other hand, that my dad and I, if you've ever seen the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'm more of a Neil Page guy, and he's more of a Dale Griffith guy. I mean, you see those two in that movie, that's a little bit how my dad and I are at this point in our lives. But I think that is that's a pretty good description of the way we usually get along. But like I said, yesterday we went over to Slippery Rock University. I was throwing the discs. He was watching. He was sitting there. He brought a chair out, like a folding chair. He was sitting there while I was throwing, and we were talking as I was throwing. And then we went down to the campus, and I played a couple of the baskets he was watching. And then we went to eat, and then came home. And then today I wanted to go to Walmart, and so we did that. And after there, we went over and had breakfast. I did have an omelet, which is totally fine. It was a meat omelet, so it's eggs and meat. And I had some pepper on it, although I did have some toast, which is carbs. And I did have some hash browns, which is also carbs, but not a lot. The omelet was huge, though, and it was fantastic. But we had a good time over there. He must go there all the time because everybody knows him there. We walk in. It's like when Norm used to walk into Cheers, that sitcom from the 1980s. It seems to me that's kind of the way it is when my dad walks into the Valley Dairy over here in Butler. It's just everybody knows him. So there's that. So that's how my dad's doing. And he is happy that I'm here. And he's certainly happy that I'm going to be here until next Tuesday so I can drive him to Pittsburgh. And he doesn't have to drive himself. All right, moving on. It's me says, well, great. And fasting is easy once you ease into it and get used to doing it. It was not that hard. It's me. I don't know how often I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do it while I'm here. But we shall see. Delane, my granny is 97 and gets frustrated because her legs give out on her, so she can't cook anymore. She goes to the doctors and get mad when they say, well, you are 97. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things, Delane. I don't know if, do we ever really accept that? I think that for myself at 51, I hope to make it to 84, and I hope I'm in decent condition. But if I'm not, in the best shape that I can be for 84, am I just going to be happy enough to say, you know what? Any day above ground is a good one. I don't know. I think every person has to judge that for himself or herself. Many people have said, if I can't do these things anymore, if I can't go out and do this, I can't go out and do this, that I don't want to be here anymore. And there are people like that. Other people, they're just happy to be alive. Some people have said, if I start to get Alzheimer's or something like that, then, I don't want to be here. That a lot of people feel that way. I don't know if I figured that out yet. Don't know. I think that being that, my mind is so important to me. It's, that if I were to start to get Alzheimer's or something, I might say I might not want to be here anymore. Just never know. Hopefully I won't have to worry about it. The main thing that runs in my family is not Alzheimer's. I mean, my biological family, from what I've seen, my biological father, my biological mother, who lived to be 88, all had their minds up until the day they passed. And my biological mother's sisters pretty much all had their minds and everything. So maybe that's not something I have to worry about. But cancer does run in my family. So got to keep up on that. Stanker Vision. Asked me my favorite breakfast food. Well, it's something really that I can't eat. I shouldn't eat, Stanker, but that would be French toast. And I think that I got that from my mother. That was my mother's favorite breakfast as well. French toast, get the butter and that syrup and everything. Ugh. It's so good. It's so good. And then the butter and the syrup, you just really, really load it up. That would be my favorite breakfast food. Can't be my favorite breakfast food now, though. For example, like when my sister and her husband have come to Florida over in Orlando, I go to see them. They're going to be actually coming down in October, so I'll be seeing them then. We go to Denny's. That's usually what I get. I usually get French toast when we go to Denny's. That's usually their place to have breakfast when they go down to Florida, come down to Florida. So that's my answer to that. Paula says, I read if you make it to 80 in decent health, odds you will make it to 90 plus. I've never heard that, Paula. So maybe my dad is destined to be here around for another 5 years. I hope I can take it. Shri says, if someone else has to take care of my daily tasks, I don't want to be here personally. Yeah. Me too, Shri. Yeah. Yeah. It's me says, okay, now I'm getting hungry. Well, we didn't talk about music tonight. It's me. So I guess we have to talk about food instead. Sharon says she's 59 and grateful. It's me is going to be 69 next month. Good for you. My brother Brian is going to be 69 next month as well. His birthday is September 2nd. Stanker, your thoughts on the Springfield 3? I really can't comment on that. I just don't know. I know the 3 women that disappeared. I know the generalities. I don't know any more than anybody else does, Stanker. So I'm really not. I don't feel educated enough to really offer up an opinion on it. D says, "Hey y'all, hey D, I already answered your question. I was just going through about my dad. You're gonna have to go back and listen to that. My dad actually made an appearance about 7 minutes ago. D, you missed it. You can watch that in the replay." It's me says, I consider myself healthy thus far. Good. Well, you know how I know you're healthy? It's me, because you're watching the live show tonight. That's how I know you're healthy. Let's move on to this. Austin Pevo's trial, 3 days in. I'm not sure what's been going on. His mother, Susan, did send me a couple messages, but nothing in real detail that I think that, nothing really to say. It's not, I'm withholding anything. She really hasn't offered up a lot of details. As I continue to say about Austin's disappearance, that my big issue is what exactly led to this. What are they saying happened? I know I guess they're claiming self-defense, but can we even get a clue as to why it went from guys working together to guys killing, what was that? I hope we get that out of the trial. I don't know if that has popped up yet. I don't know. Linda says, it's me agrees with me. Linda, I know how your dad, I love how your dad reacted when you said bananas had carbs. Well, they do. I just was talking about that. Is it weird? Some fruits have carbs, and then he comes in as if timed to say that. It's weird how that all works. I think that I said that before he came in. Maybe you didn't. I forgot. Yeah, that's how my dad usually reacts when I say things like that. That's usually my dad's reaction to me disagreeing with him. Yeah, his reaction was priceless. Well, Linda, I will tell him after the show is over. Once again, as you are watching tonight, please give this video on your phone, your tablet, your desktop, your laptop. Please give this video a thumbs up. Go down there. I think when you're looking at the screen, it's like right down in the center, right? Please give this video a thumbs up as you are watching. Let's move on to this. Season 2, Volume 3 book, almost done. Got to notice that it's almost done. In fact, I'm going to be talking to the guy tomorrow. Jonathan is his name, tomorrow afternoon. The issue is that, and you should know, and I'm just going to be honest about this. The big issue right now with the books, I think that this Jonathan, I think he's doing a fine job. I have no complaints about him. The issue, though, is cost. And he's working, I'm paying him to do this, and he's working at a rate that is reasonable. All right. I do not believe that he's ripping me off. This is just the way it is. But what I'm discovering is it takes a lot of hours to put these books together. And I have to start looking at, is there a way to decrease the cost of actually getting one book made? I'm not talking about the price per book once you get it done and it's on Amazon and what the cost is to print a book for somebody to buy it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the cost made to turn all of this information into a book. And right now, the cost, I wouldn't say it's prohibitive, but it's close. We're going to have to figure out a way to reduce the costs of making these books. Now, when I was doing it myself, of course, there's no cost except my time. The issue is I just don't have the time. That's why it took so long for Season 2, Volume 2 to come out. And so this is a conversation that he and I are going to be having tomorrow. We have to make the process more efficient. And I don't know where that's going to come from. I realize that there's a certain cost, and I told him at the beginning, once again, I'm not blaming him. But we're going to have to figure that out. I'm just being honest with you. I want to get all these books made, but if it takes a certain amount to make one book, then I have to start, really, what exactly are we doing here? Is this the best way to be doing this, and just being honest with you. And he's doing a fine job with it. He knows what he's doing. I think the cost will come down a little bit as he gets more efficient, but I just don't see where we are and how we're going to get where we need to be. I would say it's like, if you're trying to make a family car, like let's say it's a Chevy, and you want it to be a family 4-door car, but the production costs are $100,000. You have to start wondering, what are we doing here? That's kind of where we're at with the books at this point. So we're going to see if we can make this more efficient somehow. Paula says, we are taking my 81-year-old parents to the Grand Canyon this weekend. Quite a road trip from West Texas. Oh, my gosh. Paula, the funny thing is that I've been to the Grand Canyon, but I did not go there while I lived in Las Vegas. It's a couple hours, 2.5-hour drive or something. I actually went to the Grand Canyon before I moved to Vegas. I was at the Grand Canyon in March of 1998. And I moved to Las Vegas in May of 98. My brother Brian and I went to the Grand Canyon. He had a conversion van, sleeper camper type of van, and we went out there, drove out there to the southern rim. And that's the only time I've seen the Grand Canyon. So I lived all those years, 13 years, never went there, but I was there before. So it's been 23 years, 23 and a half years. But it is spectacular if you've never been there. But it is a long drive from West Texas, having made that drive. I've driven through West Texas a couple times, and it is a long way to that northern area of Arizona for sure. So I hope it goes well, Paula. As most of you know, I have done it a couple times with my dad coming to Florida, flying up here, driving down together, then driving back, and it is an experience. Cherie says, audio is the new thing. Even books are all audio now. I'm a book lover, and I've bought less books than I ever have. Cherie, that's a very good point, and that is something we're going to have to look at. Does it make sense to turn these books into ebooks? Does it make sense? I mean, it's not the print part. Once you put the ebook together, the printing is just part of the process. But assembling all that, of course, the transcribing of the interviews and all those things, it all takes time. As some of you have done transcriptions for me in the past, you know how much time it takes. So it's something that we're going to have to think about, Cherie. Just don't know we're going to figure out. Cherie says, West Texas sucks. I'm a Texan, so I can say so. It's me. Going to call it a night. So good night, Ed, everyone. Have a great evening. Well, it's great talking to you tonight. It's me. Thank you for joining us. So that is the situation with the books right now. Just being upfront with you, if I can be totally transparent with you on any topic regarding Unfound, I am. And so we're just going to have to figure it out somehow. I hope we can. I don't know what we're going to do. All right, moving on. I'm hoping that last Thursday, I know that there have been quite a few views on the YouTube channel. On this YouTube channel for my last show with Dr. Telesco, talking about the disappearance of Megan Lancaster. Went a little longer than usual, about an hour and 20 minutes, which is fine by me. I'm always ready to talk. I mean, I do 2-hour live shows every Wednesday night for the last almost 4 years. So, I'm always in a mood to talk. So that was fine with me. And Dr. Telesco and I have reserved, we will be doing a show this month at the end of August. We're locked in for that. I think it's the last Thursday of this month, which would be 8th, 15th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 20th. August 26th is the date. It's a Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I've not picked out a case yet. In fact, after we were done with last Thursday's show, she and I threw in a couple ideas about what we could actually do for the next show. So it might not be covering a disappearance. Just don't know. Don't know. But along those lines, after the show was over on Thursday, she and I started talking. We talked about going down, for me to go down to Nova Southeastern University, Southeastern University, and speak to a couple of her classes. And tentatively, I will be going down there on November 4th to speak to a couple of her classes. We'll work out the details. We got a lot of time to work that out. But November 4th, I will be what is generally considered to be the Miami area to speak to a couple of classes, criminal justice majors, on November 4th. So as you can imagine, I'm all excited about that. However, I think I'm also ready to let you know about, I've already mentioned that I have another speaking engagement. Charlotte's getting out. Oh, good night. Good night to you, Charlotte. But on October 12th, I told you I'm going to be going to Louisiana to speak to 2 classes there. And I think I'm ready to tell you what school that's going to be. It's going to be Northwestern State University. And I've been talking to a professor there since like March of 2020 about going there. We had a date worked out for April or May of 2020. Of course, that didn't happen because of COVID. But it's going to happen now. I know there's this Delta variant and all those things, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. So October 12th, which is I think it's a Tuesday, I will be at Northwestern State University to speak to 2 classes there. Both of the classes are an hour and 15 minutes long. So I anticipate me doing like an hour-long presentation and then taking questions for the final 15 minutes. So that's going to be the first one. At least I don't have any others scheduled yet. But that'll be the first one. And then a few weeks later, I'll be going down to Nova Southeastern. And in both, I have to start putting together a PowerPoint program. Joyce says, good night, everyone. Having computer problems. Oh, no. I'm sorry to hear that, Joyce. Well, good to see you, Joyce. I hope you're doing well. And we need to talk on the phone again soon, Joyce. We have to talk again soon. Sharon says, good job. Good for you. Thank you, Sharon. So I have to get a PowerPoint presentation put together. I already have the outlines done. So it's just a matter of getting on my Dell and putting, I've never made I'm 51 years old, never have done a PowerPoint presentation using a computer before. So I'm going to have to learn to do that. But I already have the outlines and everything done. So I don't even have to think about that. I'm going to have to practice a little bit, make sure that I get close to that hour format. And I'd rather have too much information than not enough, as you would suspect. So those are 2. And maybe, see you, Joyce. Thanks for coming in tonight. So maybe I can line up 1 or 2 more. Maybe one for later in November, maybe December. I don't know. Maybe we start getting to finals territory. So there's still a possibility of me speaking in the Tampa area at University of South Florida. In fact, that reminds me I need to email a professor there again. So that one would be local, which would be neat. And these presentations, at least the first one, will be videoed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that myself. Will somebody come with me up there? But somebody who will be responsible for the videoing. I'll probably just use my phone. Maybe I want to think about getting a wireless microphone, maybe make the audio really good. Those are things that I'll work on, things to do between now and then. Have over 2 months to get that stuff prepared. And then at least portions of those will be posted on this YouTube channel. But I don't want to put the whole thing on there because I'm going to be using it to get more speaking engagements at other schools. And this is something that I'm really looking forward to. Dee says, I've had internet problems for the past month. Sorry to hear that, Dee. So we'll see. It's something I'm really looking forward to. Maybe some of you don't know that I've actually spoken at schools before, not regarding missing persons cases, going way back to 2001. 2001, 2000. I'm going to say 2000, 2001. Yeah, one of those years. Maybe had to have been 2001. I actually did, I knew a film professor at UNLV, University of Nevada at Las Vegas. I knew him from working at the Cine Vegas Film Festival in 1999. And he was going to be out on vacation or doing something for a few days. He had me come in and speak to a couple of his classes about filmmaking while he was gone, about independent filmmaking and what goes on, because that's what I was doing at the time. I had no problem. I just printed out some sheets, notes, went in and spoke to these two classes. Nothing to it. And then in about 2006, I'm going to say, I went and spoke. Of course, you remember from a few months ago, I was on my friend April Bear's podcast. She interviewed me. Remember, fantastic interview show that she and I did. Well, she's been a professor that long, since 15 years ago, and she does communication. So I came in and spoke to her class about communication, speaking, presentation, etc. So I do have some experience talking to college students. It's just been a while. And I have to tell you, I feel much more confident speaking about missing persons cases than I do maybe that I did about filmmaking or speaking to April's class way back when. So I think it's going to go well. I know I'm going to be nervous. That's natural. But when you have the PowerPoint right there, and as you can see, I do these live shows every week, and I just have a few notes that I bring. I think everything will be fine, and I continue to say I'm really looking forward to it. Marlene, good evening, everyone. Out of the hospital, was in 3 days. Despite being tired and on more antibiotics, I'm feeling a lot better than I did a week ago. Well, you missed my dad, Marlene. You got in here a little late. My dad made an appearance about a half hour ago. Just popped in here. But, yeah, he's doing fine. He was giving me a hard time about me not eating the bananas that he got. I have to be honest, though. I had sent him a list of things that I can eat and that I can't eat. And he didn't exactly follow the shopping list. So what are you going to do? All right, so speaking engagements, talked about that. Let's move on to this. Jill, I don't know if Jill's in here or not, but award-winning viewer Jill, who got the award for best questions in 2020. Jill asked me, with your most recent journey around the sun, so turning 51, what are you hoping for year 51 for yourself and for Unfound? Wow. So I'm not trying to guilt everybody else or make everybody else feel sad, but Jill consistently asks the best question. I learned a lot of great questions, but Jill is probably the most consistent. And she's probably asked me the most questions since the live show got started as well. Maybe that helps. She's very experienced in the question asking area. But once again, Jill asks me, with your most recent journey around the sun in turning 51, what are you hoping for this coming year for yourself and for Unfound? Well, for Unfound, I want to get I keep saying, I want to get all these books finished. It's just a matter of cost. And if we can get the cost to a point that is reasonable, then it's a big goal. I want it to get done if we can get the cost down. So that is certainly what I'm hoping for Unfound. Being that I just spoke about speaking engagements, I would hope over the next year to have done 10. I think that's a very workable number. Speaking at 10 different schools, universities, colleges would be a great goal of mine for Unfound. Would certainly like to have some more conversations about TV. I'm not contacting anybody or anything, but given that Unfound did get mentioned on 48 Hours, it seems like yesterday, but that was way back in March. I don't know where the time goes. That was neat. I would like Unfound to get some more recognition in that area without ripping us off. And we got to move some of these disappearances forward that we've covered on the program. I continued to work on a few things behind the scenes on disappearances that have not yet been covered for an official episode. I want to get into more work like I did with Cameron Remmer, like when I worked on that over the course of a lot of 2019. And in fact, I've actually been doing that with a couple disappearances that I think are going to be on Unfound probably within the next 6 weeks. But I've been working on them here and there a little bit, finding people, finding out more information. Of course, I told you about this FOIA that I got for the disappearance of Jennifer Perry. In fact, I just spoke to her mother and her sister again yesterday, and then I spoke to Jennifer Perry's brother today. I don't know, for 45 minutes, something like that, going over the information that was in the FOIA. So those are some of the things that I'd like to make happen for Unfound. I think that means we're moving forward. There are other things that I can mention, but they're in a little private things that I don't think that I want to mention publicly yet. But from the standpoint of what I'm doing, the way I see the program, those are some of the goals. Speaking, books, maybe a couple more TV conversations, even if it doesn't go anywhere. It's interesting to just talk to people about it, just to throw some ideas around and to get some of these disappearances moving forward, even doing better investigation, research, everything that we do than we've done. That's what I would hope to make happen for Unfound over the next year. And, I think that, this past year was a very good one for the program. I think that period, of course, we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary, but I would say that this past year between September of 2020 and coming up September 2021 has been the best year yet, I think. So we just have to keep going forward. I know for me, regarding this, that I know that I'm in it for the long haul. I see myself doing this, covering missing persons cases for the rest of my life in one form or another. And so I'm in it for the long haul, so I can afford to be patient. This isn't something where I need things to happen now as far as things with the program. Obviously, all these disappearances, I'd like them solved tomorrow. But that's probably unrealistic. So, but over the past year, you have to think, we had a lot of things move forward, and a lot of the disappearances that Unfound is covered. We had something to do with some of them, nothing to do with other ones, and that's fine. But we have to continue that. And I want to continue to even interact more with the guests even before and after they are been on the program. I hope they will keep me informed of what is going on. So that's what I hope for Unfound. It's, once again, sometimes I wonder if all of you think that, yeah, I guess here's my perception is that, and I've said this before, that a lot of other hosts, they're just dying to go to CrimeCon. They're just dying to get on a TV show. They're just, and with me, it's the opposite. And then I start and that's genuine. That's not like fake modesty or something going on. Those are my true feelings. My assistants know that I am like that. That's not a show. So sometimes, though, when people, maybe you, the listeners, hear me say this, maybe you start wondering, is he ambitious enough? He doesn't want to go to CrimeCon. He actually said some derogatory things about CrimeCon. And he admits that he doesn't really reach out to any TV shows, even though he says he would entertain this. And you start thinking, well, what's going on here? I'm just ambitious in a different way. I would say to all of you, and I've mentioned this this movie / book within the last few months because it's been on my mind a lot, is that if you watch the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt, him portraying the real person, Billy Beane, who is still the general manager of the Oakland A's, I see myself being a lot like Billy Beane, at least the way he is portrayed in that movie in which Brad Pitt portrays him, in that it wasn't enough for Billy Beane to win or anything else. He wants to change the game. And that sometimes meant at the time, and even maybe to this day, that you make decisions that other people don't make, won't make, wouldn't even think of making. And that's how I feel. That's how I feel about myself. That it just does seem that the way I talk about things is different from how the way other people talk about things. Hold on one moment. Dad. I don't know if you could hear that, but my dad had the TV up to about 100% volume. He can't hear. So that was distracting me. So that's what I see for Unfound. And like I said, sometimes I know that I feel like the odd man out, and maybe I've created that for myself. So I'm sure that Jill, if you're here, I'm answering your question right now conveniently. Jill, I'm sure if that question came up to another host, that it would probably, be about downloads and likes and shares and going to CrimeCon and all these. And I'm just, I'm thinking about getting these books out. I'm thinking about going to schools. I'm thinking about doing work behind the scenes and things like that. That's my focus. Now, as far outside of that, being that Jill also included myself, just me personally, on a personal level, my personal life, I guess separate from Unfound, and that does exist. I would certainly like to win a couple more disc golf tournaments. And I did technically win a couple this year, although I tied. I would not say I played very well, but I did come in first. The one just being very recently in July, although once again, I did not play well at all. I don't. The scorecard says that I tied for first place, but the way I played, I should have won. The way I have my capabilities, I should have won. I shouldn't have tied for first. I should have won outright, and I didn't. And that's what happened earlier this year too, where I think I had the capability of winning by myself, and instead I tied. So in both of those situations, I came in first, but I think I underperformed. So disc golf, it's something that I put a lot of time into, and so you like to see those results. It's no different than Unfound. You put time in here, and you want to see those results. You want to have good episodes. You want to do good interviews. You want people to react positively to the program. And I don't mean the iTunes reviews and everything else. I mean that when they hear the interview, that people are finding out new information, and it's very clear and concise. And a lot of times they're hearing about disappearances for the first time, and we're explaining them in the best way possible. So that's a standard. You put a lot of work into it, and you want to see those results. Same way when it comes to my disc golf. And like I continue to say, I'm always going to be a better podcaster than disc golfer. And I can certainly live with that. So that's one thing. The other thing, Jill, about myself is that I continue to say that I've become too much of a hermit. I do most of my work from home. Now, over the past year, maybe that's a little bit explainable. Because of COVID, I wear masks. I wore masks when I was supposed to. I'm not here to rub anybody the wrong way. I don't know how well they protect. I'm not getting into that. But if it says you have to wear masks certain places, I did. Don't like it. But I did. But we understand the past year has been an odd one. And so that certainly kept me at home. And like I've said, if there was a person who didn't even probably, where this COVID stuff didn't affect at all, it was probably me. And I don't think that's a positive. It's humorous, and maybe there is a good part of that in there to have something like this happen, and not have it affect you. But I also realized that the reason it didn't affect me is because I'm not getting out enough. And so I need, I think at this point, I do need to be out there. I have to figure out how to be able to do unfound work away from home. Now, I can't do phone calls, of course, out somewhere. But when I'm, I can edit interviews because I have the headphones. I could bring this computer. I could certainly do that. So I've been thinking about what are those things if I were to go to a Starbucks, or I would go here, or would go there where they have Wi-Fi and just be around people. What are the aspects of Unfound that I can do out there somewhere instead of in here or in my 8th floor condo on Clearwater Beach? So I've been thinking about that. So that's a change that I think I have to enact now that I'm 51, especially now that things are opening up again. And I hope they stay open. I know that once again, Delta variant, and even Kathy's saying California going back to mandatory masks because of Delta variant. I saw that, Kathy. I don't think that's going to happen in Florida, but I did see that. So I think I just have to make my social life a little bit better. I get out on Wednesday evenings or Thursday evenings for trivia, which I really enjoy. And then on Sunday mornings, I always get together with mostly men, some women, for disc golf, and that's fine. And it's not like I'm agoraphobic. I'm not afraid of people or public places. I'm not that at all. But Linda's saying people are overrated. Well, they can be. But another part of this is that I would certainly like to maybe start up a dating life again. So there's that. So that would also help if I was out there as well, just to be honest. Just if Jill's going to answer the question, I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer it as much as I can. So all of that comes together. And of course, on top of everything else, I want to maintain, this weight and continue to look good and be fit and keep that weight off. You have to remember, back in March, I was 190 pounds. And today, I think right now, if I went on the scale, probably no more than 175 and a half. And I do see myself as being a skinny person. So I got to keep that up. So these are some things that are going through my mind for the next year that will make the age of 51 be a good one. We'll see what happens. You never know. But that's my answer, Jill. Linda says you need a wiener. Now, what Linda was referencing is that, was it Monday? There's a neighbor here who has a baby wiener dog, a miniature dachshund, and Dad had it and brought it in. Her name was Heidi. And so she brought it, and you should know as a kid, From about 1984 until 1995, we had a miniature dachshund. His name was Fred. Great dog. Loved people. Did not like other dogs. Very outgoing dog. Loved to go fishing. Loved to be outside. Loved to run around. Loved to cuddle. But like a dachshund, very yippy. You know, anything that goes on side, they're barking, 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 barking. Very sneaky. They're very sneaky dogs. And I even made my statement to my dad when he brought this little wiener pup in here that you watch, if you put her down, be careful, she might pee. Wouldn't you know, he put her on the ground, she started around, and she started to get into that. And my dad went over and grabbed her, picked her up. And I love animals. I just don't have the patience to take care of them. I just don't. I love animals, but don't ask me to pick up their poop. Don't ask me to take them for walks and all those things. You want me to just sit on the couch and them sit on my lap and pet them and talk to them and everything. And when we go play disc golf, people bring their dogs. I talk to the dogs. I have like real conversations with them. That's who I am. But I don't want to take care of one. It's just not me. Too much work. Plus, I live in a place I can't do it anyway. So I don't know if a dog is an answer, but I will surely give love to other dogs. Puma says, I don't think this is the time to be going out. Yes, people are overrated. I'm happy to stay in my corner. I'm going to go out. I got my vaccinations. You know, I'm not going to worry about it. You know, I try to remember, you know what? We're all going to die anyway. You know, so I'm just going to go out. You know, it just depends on how you want to live your life. I followed the rules and everything. I got my vaccinations. I didn't have any side effects of the vaccinations. You know, my brothers and my sister, who are much more sociable, going out in public than I am, have been out all over the place. They're much older than I have. They haven't had any problems. So there you go. Kathy says, dachshunds known as doxies in the dog show world. I think you're right about that. D-Sizz agrees with people being overrated. Linda says a cat might be better. Funny you mentioned that, Linda, because when I went over to my dad's friends, her real name is Dorothy, but everybody calls her Dottie. I was setting up her printer. She has a cat named Chipper. Chipper didn't want to have anything to do with me. I petted him a little bit, but then he got skittish and he started nicking at my fingers, and then that was that. He decided he didn't want to be around me anymore. But his name is Chipper. I love cats. My brother Michael has 2 cats. Cats love me too, but I just no. Yeah. Cleaning up after no is a lot more abilities. Okay. Kathy's kids, yes. Yeah, there's a reason I didn't have kids too. Can get along with other people's kids. I would have to say I'm not much of a kid person. It's probably a reason I don't have any. But it's good that you know that before you have them, right? So, Linda says old cats from the shelter are the best. Linda, if you say so. But no, I don't see myself ever having any pets. And in fact, I have to tell you that my ex-girlfriend, Suzanne, she never seemed like a pet person to me. Dog person, cat person, everything. And now she has a dog. I don't know. Very surprised by that. She was always on the go, and she's still always on the go. Has a dog. I don't know. Just never really struck me as being a pet type of person. So let's move on to this. I do have a little more true crime stuff that I want to talk about before we complete the live show. We got about 25 minutes left. As was posted, and my assistant Carrie told me, they're polygraphing people concerning Tyler Stice's disappearance. It came from some private investigator. I don't know who hired this private investigator. I don't know anything about this private investigator. You know how I feel about private investigators. And on top of everything else, I don't know how you give people polygraphs that they don't want to take them. So I don't know what's going on. Like I said, it was my assistant Carrie who saw it first, and then she posted it in the private group that we have. I saw the post then that was written that they are doing polygraphs of people. I'm open to the idea. In fact, I think going back to when I wrote about that particular case for Patreon, that I did I write it for Patreon? I think I did. That I can certainly see that foul play could be involved. There are suspicions there, and I know even Jessica, Tyler's sister, though she's not with us anymore, she certainly thought there was foul play involved. The issue is that we covered that disappearance in 2017, and I think I've learned a lot since then. And so, on the other hand, it would not be crazy to me if Tyler did get in his car, drove outside of Kingman, Arizona, and walked off. For whatever reason. So I guess if they're polygraphing people, this is under the belief that it was foul play, but then his foul play is that his stepfather, because I think I can speak for Jessica now, that's what she believed. Is it some coworker of his, some friend? Maybe, but do we really think of these people anything to do with it, that they're just going to, out of nowhere, all these years later, say, oh, yeah, give me a polygraph? Absolutely. So I don't know what this is going to do. And on top of everything else, polygraphs can be faked both ways. Somebody can be lying and it show they're telling the truth, and somebody can be telling the truth and it shows they're lying. I guess it's something. I don't mean to be negative here. I think that anybody's trying to, at least it's not a psychic, But we all know about polygraphs, and we've heard these things before in other disappearances, and we just know that polygraphs really don't take us anywhere. I think that I would feel much better about this if this was somebody organizing searches from out around where the car was found. Because we have to remember, if you don't remember, Tyler did buy some sort of rifle or something not long before he went missing. And it's not been found. He's missing and that rifle's missing. So if he did have it and he really did walk off, parked his car there and just walked off into the wilderness of northern Arizona, if he's deceased, of course, his remains, and going back to the Noah Davis conversation, the animals would take care of that, but they're not going to be able to do anything about that gun. It's not going to decompose. So, I'd like to hear more about that if somebody's going to do something. But I have to tell you, I'm stunned as anybody that this popped up. So, but I'm hopeful. I just don't know. I guess what I'm saying is you need to keep your expectations fairly low regarding all of this. Linda says, happy, litter trained, vetted, and they will make you feel like they're servants. I don't need any pets. Trust me, Linda. I don't need any pets. I really, really don't. Let's move on to this. This will be the last item before we get to this Friday's disappearance. There was this disappearance, and I have to be honest, it was almost the past Unfound now. And instead, that I did the disappearance of Candy Gonzalez. But I was going to make this one, if it continued to be unsolved for the rest of August, I was going to make this the next Unfound now, but I won't be able to do that now. And that was the disappearance of Philip Kreycik, Kreycik, from Pleasanton, California. He was a guy who went jogging and never returned. And over the past 3 weeks, a lot of people have really been involved in trying to find him. So he parked his car, went into this park. It seems that he had left behind his phone or something showing the route that he would take. and they did, he didn't show up. And so they went and did this route, couldn't find him. And all these weeks later, they're still searching for him. Probably some of the most complete searching, most involved searching that was done. Why this was able to be arranged like this? Maybe somebody should study that. But it was really, really involved. Probably one of the most complete search attempts, gatherings that I've seen. And maybe it's because this guy knew a lot of people, or maybe people in the running community came together to try to find him. That's sometimes how these things work. And he was found eventually. He was just found within the past few days, but he was found not on that path. He was in fact found about a quarter mile from where the closest spot he would have ever been on this path that he had seemingly put on his phone to follow. Now, he didn't take his phone when he went running. I found that suspicious, but then reading some runners say that's very common. But he was not found on the path. He was found at a quarter mile away, just under a tree. And it was not on one of the regular running paths in that park. In fact, instead, it was a path that animals use. What happened? It's too early to say. It was a very hot day. Philip was into this, extreme running, going out and running in very, very hot weather, which, as we know, can be dangerous. I know people do it. People do it for a long time, have no problems, but it's still very dangerous. The heat, what it can do to your body, especially if your body is not completely fine-tuned. And I know even for myself, I know a few times that I've gone disc golfing, and for some reason it always seems to happen over in Orlando that, if it's really hot out, you can feel that start to come over. You feel like, oh, what's going on here? I'm starting to get a little fuzzy-headed, and you have to calm down. You have to find a shade. Hopefully you have enough water. But I'm not running either. So, how did he end up a quarter mile off the path? How did he end up under this tree? I will have you know, in reading Web Sleuths, a few other places, that some people were starting to put the feelers out that maybe there was a conspiracy here. This was before he was found. Was he even really in that park at all? Or did his car just get abandoned there? Luckily, being that he was only missing for 3 weeks, hopefully they can still do some forensics on his body. Did he have a heart attack? Did he have a heat stroke? What exactly happened with this? But I'm of course hoping it wasn't foul play. I am hoping that he wasn't murdered. Either way, he's deceased. I don't know how any way is going to make anybody feel any better, but maybe something that we can learn something from this in looking at a disappearance where this guy who's seemingly in good health, wasn't an addict, didn't have any, addictions or anything like that. He's going out for a normal run. He was a runner, long-time runner, and then he ends up going missing, and he's found well off this trail, quarter mile away, which to me sounds like quite a bit off the trail, which, if you don't know, a quarter mile is 1,320 feet. So that's like 4+ football fields without the end zones. I guess it's about 4 football fields exactly if you include the end zones. So did he get disoriented? Did he get lost? Did something going on in his mind? Kind of heat stroke, forgot where he was, ran off, decided to take a rest under this tree, and something happened. This can happen. I mean, we know that we hear about it every year, unfortunately, about like high school football players practicing in August, and some young kid, 17, 18 years old, has a stroke or something like that and dies. So if that can happen to a 17, 18-year-old in football practice, it can certainly happen to a guy who I think he was in his 30s running in, extreme heat. But this also shows how tough searches can be. Even when you have seemingly the path that the person was going to take, there's no reason to think that he would lie about that. You go and search that, and you're going off in all directions, remember, they've been searching for 3 weeks. And they didn't find him until the last few days, and he was a quarter mile off the path. So it just shows you just a quarter mile away from where you think a person is supposed to be can make it hard to find that person. That's just so fine. This is why those searches are so difficult. And going back to Jason Landry's, it's probably the exact reason he hasn't been found yet. Not because it was extreme heat or anything, but that's all it takes, a quarter mile, to make somebody a difference between being found and not being found. And even when you know where this guy would have been going, they're tough. And Pleasanton, Kathy says Pleasanton is the Bay Area, beautiful area. Forces, yeah, it looks beautiful. I did look at the maps, Kathy. Linda, I wonder if the area was found and it was a designated search area. Well, they were going to go back and check that, Linda. I saw that they were going to check and see if that area had ever been searched before. Maybe somebody missed them the first time around. But I got the idea that it was not in the designated search area because it wasn't in the line of the path where it seemed Philip was going to run, because he kept track of all his runs. There's apps you can do that. And it showed for that date the plan to run this certain circle. And so they started searching there, and of course they didn't find anything. So I would have to say it wasn't in the designated search area because it was not close to where it seems he said he was going to run, where he was going to chart out. So, but I was going to cover that, but I guess I don't have to. We'll have to find another one for later this month for Unfound now. But I want to talk a little bit about that. If you hadn't heard about that, I would urge you to go check that out and read all about it. Even go to Web Sleuths, read about what people were saying even before he was found. People talking about running, people talking about the searches. You can find maps of the areas that were searched and decide for yourself. But it does show overall, it's a good lesson in searching and how even when you know the area, you have the maps, you have all these people, you know where this person is supposed to be, it still takes over 3 weeks. And it seems to me that it was a little bit of luck that caused him to be found. Okay, let's move on to this Friday's episode. This is the disappearance of Krystal Bailey. It's the disappearance. We are going to Vermont for the first time. It took us almost 5 years to get there. We're going to go to Plainfield, Vermont. She disappeared on February 25th, in the night of February 25th of 2017. So this is a disappearance that's about 4.5 years old. The guest is her sister, Michelle Audette, A-U-D-E-T. And the episode's title is Washed Away. The reason it's called that is the general circumstances that, well, Krystal, she didn't make a lot of good choices in life, but she had some very difficult things happen to her from the outside, but she caused a lot of her own problems as well. On the night of her disappearance, she was drinking. It is believed she was doing drugs. She was with her new boyfriend. His name was Brian, and her friend, whose name was Allie. And even though they had spent the day getting drunk, doing other things, they decided that they needed even more alcohol. So Allie and Krystal got in the car. It was actually Brian's car, but Allie was driving. Started down the road, and as you maybe not be, shouldn't be surprised, they hit into a guardrail, wrecked the car. I don't know how badly the car was wrecked, though. There's no pictures of it. At least none that I've been able to find, and her sister Michelle has not seen any. But they hit a guardrail, and there was a witness to this accident. This witness called 911, and we're not sure whether Krystal and Allie knew that this person did this. But the EMTs showed up, and the women were standing there drunk. And later, one of the EMTs would say that it looked like Krystal had an injury to her head. She was bleeding from her head area up here. Probably she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. But But when the EMT showed up and tried to examine these two women, they took off. They started running. And Allie went into this creek, and it should be known that this wreck happened right next to this brook, and I will be doing a video. I will be diagramming this for all of you, so I hope you will check out the video that I do for this YouTube channel. At least we know for sure Allie went into this raging creek. It had gotten very fast, very high because snow had melted. And it was just, if you look at regular pictures, it's just a little brook that's maybe not even a foot deep. But given the snow melting, water was flowing very heavily. It was wasn't a river, but a raging creek. Allie decided to jump into this creek to get away. But she was saved. She almost drowned, and one of the EMTs who followed them ended up pulling her from this creek. The issue, though, is that because it was dark, nobody actually saw Krystal go into the water. Allie claims that she heard a splash, but she never did see Krystal go into the water. Well, after these two ran off, and at least Allie jumping into the water, Krystal was never seen again. They did searches of this brook, and it does about a half mile down the water, downstream. It does flow into a river called the Winooski River. This area was searched. Nothing was ever found. Krystal's purse with her phone in it was found on the banks of that brook, but she herself was never found. So this is another water case. And so this is the theme. That's why it's called Washed Away. And one of the points that we have to remember regarding these kinds of disappearances where it is believed that somebody went into a body of water, but we don't have any proof of that, is that sometimes the logic works the wrong way. We think because a vehicle, for example, Tiffany Daniels, we think because her car was parked right on the edge of the Gulf of Mexico, that it makes sense then she parked there, she went into the water. Of course, there's no proof of that. And in fact, a lot of people believe there's foul play regarding Tiffany's disappearance. But we could look at something like disappearance like J.R. Mullihan's. His truck was found right there on the beach of the Atlantic Ocean. We think about Shane Fell, who wrecked right next to the Mississippi River. And we think, well, because that body of water is right there, it makes sense. But we know that a lot of people disappear. Their cars are left behind out in the middle of nowhere where there's no bodies of water around. And these people still disappear. So this disappearance, this episode is really going to make you think about that topic. Did she go into, of course she is missing. The odds of her being alive are not very good. But did she disappear because she went into the water? Or is it that her remains are in that area, surrounding area, and she really didn't go into the water? Allie went into the water, but Krystal did not. And on top of that, if she did go into this brook, can we really believe that she made it the whole way to the river? Would not her remains, her body, gotten hung up on some of the branches? And once again, when I show you the video, when you see the video, you'll see what I mean by that. So once again, Krystal Bailey, title of the episode is Washed Away. February 25th of 2017, we're going to Vermont for the first time, Plainfield, Vermont. And Krystal's sister, Michelle Audette, is the guest. So that's it. That's all we got for the live show tonight. What did we do? Talked about being here in Pennsylvania. Got in some disc golf practice. Talked about my birthday a little bit, being 51. Going to my friend's 50th birthday party this Friday. Going to see a lot of people I know I haven't seen for a while. Talked about the Ward-Romine poll, the newsletter, Noah Davis, Austin Pevo, Volume 2, Season 2, Volume 3 of the Unfound book series. Talked about Dr. Telesco and speaking engagements that are coming up. Tyler Stice, polygraphs. Talked about Philip Kraychek, him being found. Took some questions from some of you in the chat room. Took questions from Dee, Jill, and Valerie. And then lastly, of course, we talked about Krystal Bailey. So that's all I have for this live show. Next week, a week from now, you will see me back in Clearwater. And you will see, of course, the Unfound sign up here, the picture up here. And everything will be back to normal. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up for any of you that are watching this in the replay. And thank you all for the great comments. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Thank you for saying nice things about my dad. Sheree, thank you for moderating. And everybody keep your head on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings. Do not be a victim. Good night, everyone.